everyone, my name is Nick, and I recently had the opportunity to try out the Sequoia SRT harness by Petzl. I thought I would take a few minutes to make a video to show you all the things that I learned about it. Let's start with how to put this thing on. It's a standard step-through harness, so you just step right through the leg loop, the waist loops. Pull it up, get it into position, and there are two straps on the front that you pull to tighten it to your liking, and then the leg straps on the side clip in like so. Alright, so before we start talking about all the things that I really like about the harness, I'm going to talk about the few things that I don't like about it. And we're going to start with the leg straps themselves. The very first thing about it is this gray part right here is plastic, and the little yellow button right there, that's the safety switch. That is plastic as well. I'm a little concerned about plastic parts on a tree worker's harness, but I haven't heard of any complaints with this yet. So maybe it's not that big of a deal. The big thing I don't like about the leg straps, though, is that the leg straps don't rotate. On some of my other harnesses, if the strap isn't sitting just where I want it, I can rotate it around to the left or to the right so that the pad is sitting right where I want it. On this particular pad, there's a strap you see that comes from the riser down to the leg strap. If I open this up and we look at the back of it, here's the riser right there. There's a piece of webbing that keeps that riser locked in place right here at the end of the buckle so that the riser can't slide down. When you weight the harness, that riser sits right between that webbing strap on the back so that you can't adjust it. And it just so happens on me, when I weight this harness, I feel a lot of pressure on the outside of my thighs where the cushion on the back, right where that ends. On my other harnesses, I can just rotate it a few inches out of the way and it sits perfectly for me. If you have that same problem, when you sit on it, it's going to get pulled back to where it started. The other thing I don't like about it, I would like to see better strap management. When I am climbing, I don't want a lot of straps hanging around the front. Maybe while I'm tending slack, I might accidentally reach for this if I'm not looking, and that could just be annoying. They do give you the little keepers right here, which do a pretty good job of keeping the webbing in place. But I have a feeling that that's going to pop out if if I look right here, it pops out with very little force. If it gets snagged on a very small twig or something like that, it's going to pop out. If it were me, I would like these to be able to stash on the back of the harness somehow, or maybe even if we could put Velcro here and here so that when you put it down, it will stay down, and if it does come up in the tree, you can put it back down real quickly without worrying about it getting in the way. But that's a real little problem. That's something that I could have fixed on my sewing machine in just a couple minutes. Let's talk about the things that I really do like about this harness, and we'll start right here in the front. Almost all bridge-style harnesses incorporate a ring of some sort in the front to connect the waist belt to the risers on the leg straps. And the Sequoia has the exact same thing, the big gold ring right here. But on many of those harnesses, you don't have the option to open this ring to swap out the bridge or to adjust the leg straps or whatever you need. Petzl has found a really remarkable way to allow for that. If you open up this red screw right here, pull it out, then take out this black plastic collar, you now have a gap in the ring, and that'll let you take out the bridge. Let's say this bridge is worn out after a year of climbing on it, or maybe you decide you need a longer or shorter bridge. You could do that very easily with this harness. Not only that, but the ring allows for some micro adjusting. This strap right here that comes from the waist belt to the ring has 3 loops on it. Let me show you. There's one, and there's number 2. and there's number 3 right there. You can see all 3 of them there. If you wanted the bridge to be closer to your body, you could open up the ring, connect it to the first loop right here, and there's one on the other side as well, right there. You could connect it to the first one, and that'll obviously bring it in closer. And if you put it on the third one, that'll bring it out further. It comes set from the factory right on that middle connection point right here. But that would obviously be a fun little thing to play around with. As we work our way around the hip belt, the D-rings, there's 2 things about them that I really like. One, it's a really robust ring. If you look at it, it's a lot thicker than some of the rings we see on other harnesses. As you're feeling for things, it really makes it stand out of the side of the harness. Sometimes there can be a lot of stuff going on over here, and this will really stand out. The other thing about it that I really like, and it's the most important thing about the D-ring, is that Petzl took the time to adjust it, or excuse me, to attach it properly to the harness so that it does not flip backwards. On some of my other harnesses, I can push this D-ring with very little pressure, or even just by moving too fast, and the D-ring will flop all the way to the back. When you reach over with your lanyard to clip in, sometimes you're not able to look at what you're clipping into, and you're reaching for something that isn't there. But on this particular harness, it is very stable. I'm going to push on it to the outside, and even with a lot of pressure, I'm only able to make that go perpendicular from my body rather than going all the way back. When you let go, it always goes back right to where it started. It makes for a very predictable attachment process when you're climbing throughout the tree. So let's look at the back pad. The other thing that I really like about the back pad is that it's very form-fitting. I've only worn this harness in total for maybe half an hour to an hour at the very most, and it feels like it's a broken-in harness that I've owned for years. There's no leather or canvas back here that you have to worry about breaking in. It comes out of the box fitting you properly. I think this happens because it is thin and it's also mesh. So the mesh is obviously a lot more flexible than a leather pad would be, or even a thick foam pad would be. And while we're talking about that mesh, I'm not sure if you can see on the video, but a lot of this in here is mesh. The whole thing is mesh with a little bit of foam on the inside, but that allows it to breathe better so that you are, you're not going to get quite as hot as sweaty while you're climbing. As you're looking at the back, you'll also notice that there are a lot of different attachment points for gear. You could drop a carabiner in here, and it would be a great clip-in point to drop other gear. Then they have the nylon attachment loops. I like that they didn't put the clear plastic tubing that we see on a lot of gear loops, but they are rigid. There's a plastic insert on the inside that keeps them open like this, but you can see a lot of attachment points throughout the back of the harness. The other thing that I like about this harness, and this is maybe the one of the big things that really sets it apart, it's a very lightweight harness. I weighed this thing on a scale and it weighs 3 pounds and 2 ounces, which makes it one of the lightest harnesses I've ever worn. This might not be a harness for everybody. If you're looking for that harness that's going to last you 10 or 15 years, this might not be that harness. But if you're looking for a lightweight, breathable, comfortable harness with lots of connection points and lots of option for adjustability, this really might be the best harness for you. So give it a shot, and we'll see you on the internet.